An affair the first time, or any affair, I suppose, when it happens, can genuinely be a mistake.
I remember getting in my car and driving away with this horrific feeling. I was just in my head, I'm an adulterer.
In one night, we've obliterated 2 fully functioning families.
I was being unfaithful 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I just felt like the future that I'd always wanted had been taken away from me.
I just carried on and on and on. I just carried on getting away with it.
In sickness and in health, for better, for worse, to honor and obey. I had a problem with that one, but I'm just kidding. Those were, the very traditional wedding vows. I meant them, they're meant to be for life. You go through marriage, life, turbulence, and you sometimes forget the words you said that day.
I think I'd always see myself as a pretty honourable chap. I liked being a good guy, if you like. My identity was driven by that. I think I was probably a typical, sort of slightly awkward teenager. Romantic relationships were quite difficult to come by. As I got a little bit older, I got a little bit more confident. I think my looks had changed a little bit. When I eventually qualified as a doctor, women were impressed by the job that I did. I was being able to flirt with the women, which made me feel better. I had a serious long-term girlfriend, but I felt as though I was sort of torn between, do I try and continue a relationship with my girlfriend? Do I want to just be single and go and explore other things? I started to develop a little bit of a split in myself and felt as though maybe I was developing a slightly darker side.
I had a normal, stable marriage with 2 children. I'm working, I'm earning enough money. It's just a complete replica of what I was brought up around and entirely normal. Yet inside of me, it's far from normal. I was serially unfaithful to my wife on numerous occasions. Once the sex was over, then there came the come down. Getting out of the situation as quickly as possible, getting back to normality, what I called normality, getting home and making sure that I hadn't been caught.
Yeah, no, I'd been friends with my wife for years. She's a very beautiful, glamorous woman. I just loved her for years. She was my mate. There's no question to me that this was someone I could make a lifetime relationship with forever. Yeah. We were together for 6 or 7 years and then we got married. I never ever thought about having an affair, ever. I never looked at another woman, genuinely. I remember someone saying to me, so what if you and your wife ever split up? And I was like, that is never going to happen. I can tell you, absolutely, that will never happen.
The kids were about 17 when I actually found out that my life had been built on an illusion. It was like I just didn't know who this man was. I didn't know who my husband was anymore. It was like some imposter had invaded his body. He was my husband, and yet he didn't feel like my husband anymore.
I was very young. I was only 22. I was working in a cocktail bar, and all of a sudden the door opened and a man walked in, and I looked at him and I said, "This is the most beautiful man I have ever seen." Despite being with the father of my child, I just knew I had to have him. He stayed for hours and he was telling me that his relationship is coming to an end because they'd grown apart. Inside I was fist pumping like mad. So when I had the chance, I wrote my number on a napkin the third day he calls me.
What I would normally do, I would just try to be charming, entertaining, engaging, and also there was an element of me promoting my status as well. I made sure I did that. So I wasn't just a policeman, I was becoming a detective. And what I found is that girls like that.
I've never been the type of person to struggle getting boys to notice me. I have a big personality. I've always been this way. I've never really been single, to be fair. When I met my husband, he was like no one I'd ever met before. He was a gentleman. You know, he used to write me poetry. I'd get gifts in the post all the time, and he'd write poems and have them all framed with a picture of us. He was different. He was very different. And maybe it's a British thing, I don't know, because I've never had that kind of romance. It's always been, you know, about one thing or another.
I wanted to be a good boyfriend. It's just that I also wanted to have sex with other women. I was serially cheating up on her, usually having the form of casual relationships. So meeting somebody, having a sort of casual physical relationship with them over a period of weeks. And I was actually quite brazen with some of the things that I did. There were times when there was other women's underwear left in my room. My girlfriend would be there and I would kind of spot it and have to sort of try and hide it away. The more I got away with it, that just fed into my belief that I could keep on getting away with it. And the sense of relief that that brought was probably one of the better feelings I've ever had, actually even better than having the sex in a way. It's the beginning of a pattern of behaviour that got more serious as it went on.
I didn't see my relationship with this man as an affair. I didn't feel that I was cheating, because at the end of the day, all we were doing were long drives and talking. We were lying to people. We were trying to conceal our tracks. We really tried hard not to be seen together. And I can see that other people would say, yeah, that's cheating, that's having an affair.
You know, we had a really nice house, 2 dogs. And then, yeah, we had our first daughter in 2002 and then another one. In some ways, becoming a dad's the greatest thing I've ever experienced. But I think it was a classic case, which is, you know, very common, which is once we had kids, then that, she never left me for another man, but I felt kind of, oh, where have you gone once we had kids? And if you're a secure man, I think that's fine. And if you're not, which I wasn't, then I think it was problematic. And I think that's probably why I went and fucked it all up.
I found myself in my early 30s, so around 32, suddenly on my own. I had this very successful corporate career, which could be highly pressurised at times, but I was really, really lonely. I'd stay late at work and work harder and longer, rather than kind of go home and face up to it.
There was a woman where I worked who, I think I was very blind to that there was even a flirtation going on. I was a therapist at this place and she was a trainee. I think she was a year younger than me. One day she said, look, could I have a chat? She said, there's something going on between us. I can feel it, you know. And I denied it flat. I kind of went into a panic. I was like, no, I don't fancy you. There's nothing going on here. For the next year, I kind of kept my distance, but felt an incredible pull towards her. It's like I'd really hoped to run into her in the dining room. And when we did, it would kind of, I'd get super adrenalized and charged up. We started texting, and that just opened another door. Yeah, no, I started to get really concerned, so I went to my wife and I said, look, this is going on. I don't feel good about this. And maybe it was even as a way of trying to get some attention back. Her response was, you ever speak to her again and the marriage is over.
Infidelity is always at the back of your mind, and it hits hardest in the middle of the night when there is a spouse next to you and all you can do is think about this other person, feeling guilty, extremely guilty on one side, and yet feeling elated with all the feelings that you have at the same time.
My friend persuaded me to download a dating app. I think my friend kind of challenged me, if you're on your own, you don't want to be on your own, you need to do something about it. And then I saw this guy. We matched each other. We went to a local bar. It sounds very old-fashioned again. Eyes met across the pub. And as I sat down, he gave me a huge hug, and I felt like I knew him already. I'd always had this idea of I'd like to be kind of, it sounds really old-fashioned, but wooed by someone. For me, it was kind of like that old-fashioned romance kind of swept off my feet, really. The word love came in about 3 dates, being really honest. It was all very fast, but it just felt like the right thing. Everyone that met him fell in love with him, as well as me.
I stayed away from the woman, but the charge just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I became obsessed with her. I ran into her, bumped into her, and it all came flooding back. We were both in agreement that we didn't want to fuck our lives up or anyone else's, that we liked each other, but nothing was ever going to happen, and we were going to be really adult about it and just walk away. And she went, no, that feels much better. And I was like, okay, great, thank you. Gave her a hug. That was that. It wasn't a hug, she was all over me. And I was all over her, so it was just like, bang. And we'd done this fucking 2 hours of talking it through. I really thought I was in the clear. I remember getting in my car and driving away with this horrific feeling. I was just in my head, I'm an adulterer.
The day when I finally decided to tell the father of my child that I am leaving him for another man, I just simply said, I'm leaving you for another man. I can't do this anymore. I've been in love with him for months now, and I just think you and I can work. And it's not an easy thing to just say, I'm going, I'm leaving you, I'm taking our child with me. And as painful as it was, I was elated because finally I felt free to be with the man of my dreams.
Whilst my wife was pregnant with our first child, I joined the police force and I was wanting to become a detective. And as part of my training meant that I had to go away to a residential training school. There was a culture of, you've heard the phrase, what goes on tour stays on tour. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be seen to be one of the boys. And I saw a couple of girls who were dancing together. Towards the end of the night, as the slow dances came on, then I pulled her in for a slow dance, and we started kissing on the dance floor. And no words were said about what was to follow, but we left the nightclub together, and that was the first time that I was unfaithful to my wife. From then on, any chance that I had an opportunity to stay away from home, I would be looking for an opportunity to have a casual sexual encounter.
I was sat on the sofa next to him. I got a text from a friend that I hadn't heard from for quite a long time, saying, you do know, don't you? I said, what? He said, you do know that he's married. I rang my friend and he explained that he'd seen pictures of him and his wife on Facebook. He hadn't told me and also told his wife. I took some very deep breaths and then I just said to him, I know that you're married and I know about your other life. My choice was falling in love with a guy that I thought I had a future with. My choice wasn't being the other woman.
The affair then lasted about 4 or 5 months. I mean, I was kind of in a split personality of, going home, going to work, and then having this secret life on the side, and all the time kind of watching the part of me that was having the affair with kind of bafflement going, who the fuck are you? You know, where did you come from? I don't recognize you. I thought, really? You know, you're me? That's not me. I'd spent so much time pushing that away because that was my dad. He was always cheating on my mum. I know he was in bed with another woman the night I was born. He'd hit on anyone, you know. If I brought a girlfriend home, he'd hit on her. No, I always swore I'd never be anything like my dad. There was no option there. You know, I was going to be loyal, I was going to be committed in a relationship.
The first little while was great. You know, we did everything together as a family. Looking back where the trouble started, we had a series of traumas, you know, a stroke, mother-in-law's stroke, brother-in-law's stroke, and then there shortly after we lost a baby. And it just all became a bit too much. Obviously, I didn't know it at the time, but, you know, as a woman, you lose a baby, you think it's only happening to you, it's your body. My husband grieved, but wouldn't grieve with me because he felt he had to be strong for me. And that's when it all started to unravel. And that's when, I guess, a separation of sorts started.
The first night we spent together, there was all this passion and all this yearning and all this wanting, and it finally happened. It was absolutely magical. I will remember that night for the rest of my life. It kind of felt like that for a long, long time. In time, the relationship became volatile, and it kind of started to fall apart. Partially because I felt that I was repeating a pattern of my parents' behavior. Because I could see them being completely in love and lovey-dovey, and then the next moment, it was gone, and they were shouting and throwing things on the floor and against the walls. And I said, that's just not how I imagined it.
I kept seeing this woman, and it was like we were both in this very forbidden situation, and that created an incredible bond. I think that's the truth of it. It's like we were both on this desert island together, and we were the only people in the world who knew this terrible thing we were doing, and it made us very, very close in a very toxic way. Part of my staying in it was, I think I freaked out. You know, I thought, if I piss her off, she's going to blow the whistle. And keeping seeing her, partly out of lust, but largely out of fear, I should have just knocked it on the head and walked away. My wife found an email. I got a voicemail when I came out of work late one night saying, I found an email. I know what's going on. I've changed the locks. Don't come home. And I felt so relieved. I felt so relieved. I guess it's like being on death row and getting an execution date. All right, the waiting's over. That just ended the marriage immediately. There was no negotiation, there was no discussion. And everything was fucked.
So there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of anger and emotions. He started breaking down. He started telling me the reasons why his marriage wasn't where he wanted it to be, how in his mind it was over. Then he packed up his stuff and then he left. I didn't know if I was ever going to get any answers from him. And at the same time as he was going home to his wife, she was messaging me. This doesn't happen to people like me. This is on the Jeremy Kyle show, or this is in a magazine. This isn't my life. And yet it was. She asked me if I respected marriage, because if I did, I needed to leave him alone. To hear her pain was just awful. They had more of a life together. They had a marriage.
In the morning when he left, I was just speechless. Because I knew the love of my life is leaving. And I might never see him again. So he left. And I was heartbroken. That feeling lasted and stayed with me for months on end. And I didn't hear from him. And it was devastating. And in a way, I thought, that's what I've done to the person I left behind.
My wife, I think she was devastated. You know, it was not part of our plan. The worst part of the affair for me was I missed her, you know.
So with my second son, you know, my husband was equally as thrilled as I was. Obviously, he was very much planned. Yeah, everything was fine until our son turned 3 months old. And I just remember one night we were in the lounge. He decided he was going to go to bed early. And I just remember hearing his phone beep at midnight. And I thought, that's a funny time for a text message to be coming in. I've never looked at his phone. I've never read his emails. But I opened the text and really wish I hadn't. It was a graphic one. So it was this person who, I can't even say her name, but it was signed with her name. And basically telling him how much she missed him and what she wanted him to do to her next time they saw each other. I woke him up immediately, and I basically just said to him, who is the person's name? And he basically told me all about it, well, I knew where they met because I had introduced them. I used to work with her. I just wanted to throw up. I didn't know what else to do. I was shocked, and I was so hurt. I was absolutely hysterical, and I just said, you can get out. All I could think of was this text. I had it in my mind, replaying in my mind, and then, of course, with the text comes the visuals that you create in your head. I didn't need that. I really didn't need those visuals at all, and I found that the most difficult thing about it, trying to get those visuals out of my head.
Once you've done it once, then you just go and do it again. The fact that I got away with it, and the fact that I had to lie about it, was just an integral part of the activity that I was involved in. I became better and better at hiding that. There were a couple of times when I slipped up and nearly got caught out along the way, and that simply just served me to get better at hiding again. It's almost just like that's what I did.
We were separated for 5 months. Things took a turn, I suppose. I got a phone call one morning from him, and he was just distraught. He was beside himself. He was crying. He said, I don't deserve to live. The conversation turned into, I don't want to lose you, I don't want to lose the kids. I was torn. Couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe the position I was in.
I just had my 21st birthday, and I was walking through the university grounds with my friend, and that was my first sight of him. It was sometime after that my friend said to me, he really fancies you and he wants to go out with you, and I was just like blown away. Why would he be interested in timid little old me? He was funny, he was charming, he certainly could be caring. He was everything that I was really looking for in a husband.
From the outside, people, I think, saw me as a successful person, settled and happy, both professionally and personally. But this serial cheating was actually ruining my life. I was being unfaithful 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was becoming addicted to cheating, to that act, to that lifestyle, and to everything that came with that. To be able to do this, you have to be a good liar as well. I very rarely spent a night alone. I got that used to doing it. I got that desensitized to doing it, that guilt, the feeling of guilt sort of diminished, as did any potential feeling for shame.
I felt that I had to give it a chance because we had a young family, and I loved him. It deserved effort. An affair can genuinely be a mistake, a lapse of judgment or whatever. It can genuinely be a mistake, and it was never meant to happen. I said to him, well, if we try again, we need to get help. We did a year of marriage counseling, and then he carried on and did 6 months of individual counseling. When we started over again, we were very conscious of the fact that we didn't want to go back to where we were before because obviously there was a problem. And I had to learn to trust him all over again. We were rediscovering each other, rediscovering our love for each other, rediscovering our love for our family. And so much so that we decided to add to that family.
The divorce was very difficult for me because I don't like failure. When I left, I genuinely believed I would walk straight into something else, and I'd started dating. The type of guy that I was going for, the charismatic businessman in a suit, very well educated, passionate about things, enthusiastic about life, those sort of men, but bizarrely unavailable after 5 o'clock and never around at the weekends. And I realised that I was probably dating married men and just not realising it at the time. I realised that the relationship I had with them was actually very easy because they didn't bother me too much. They didn't ask where I was going all the time, and I had my weekends free.
The first 2 or 3 years of our marriage were good. Our daughter came along. He was not around very much. At the time, he was working a lot, long shifts away from home. But I guess I really enjoyed being a mum and bonding with my daughter. I guess I didn't notice how much he was just not around. You know, who was I to complain about that when he was out there providing for us?
There was a definite sense of now a lack of interest in sex from my wife. I was constantly counting about how much sex that we were having. Each time that we didn't have sex, it felt like she was rejecting me. It felt like she didn't want me. It felt like it just hurt. When you use sex as a sense of connection, when you don't get it, it's painful. It really hits you deeply. The women who I ended up sleeping with, it was just everything that I needed. Somebody just to say to me, I want you.
When I date somebody, I make an extra effort to be interesting and funny, listen to him, be a good friend, make sure that you look nice, make sure that you do something quite memorable. And because of that, I think it takes them away completely from the mundane lives that they've got. We go and have a few hours of total escapism.
I'd say maybe after my daughter turned 1, the intimacy between us kind of stopped, but again, it was more, we were like ships passing in the night. It went from a healthy sex life up until the 3rd child, and then after that, it just kind of became non-existent. Yeah. He became different, irritable, just getting really agitated about the slightest things. Became very secretive, went out, disappeared for hours on end. And I asked him point blank, are you seeing somebody else? And he said, are you crazy? I would never do that after the damage I caused the first time.
Started a new relationship with a work colleague called Anna. We both agreed that we had a connection that we hadn't found with anybody else before, and that we thought we never would. There was something about Anna that made me fall in love with her, and I've never had a feeling like that before. However, I was still accessing these dating websites. I would sometimes arrange to meet women to have sex with at a time where Anna and I were not due to spend time together. Why was I putting something, a relationship that I really cared about and really wanted to succeed, why was I putting that at risk by doing stupid, insane, selfish things? But it didn't matter how many times I told myself that. I may be able to go 2 or 3 days, but again, the need, and it felt like an overwhelming need to message people, to seek out that sexual contact. And it got to the point where I was so reliant that I was now using a computer at work, a work computer, to access these websites.
He was working really long hours, and he would phone me at the time that I expected him home, and he'd say that he'd got to work late. Kiss the kids goodnight for me. I'll see them in the morning. And for quite a while, I didn't resent that at all. He always used to say to me how important marriage was to him, and I believed him. He could tell me all sorts of things that would lead me to suspect that he was the perfect family man who just had to work really hard all the time. He was just never around. He wasn't a good father to them. They needed him. In my eyes, they needed him, and he was just never there. So I've pretty much felt like a single parent.
At that point in time, we had agreed that we were going to do a temporary separation. I had something telling me that I had to look at the sat-nav. Had a look, and there was a new address there that I didn't recognize. I walked up to the front door of the house, and I looked in the glass window pane next to the door there, and I could see his shoes on the inside of the door. So I walked in, unannounced. I could hear them laughing, without a care in the world, obviously. And they didn't even see me. I said, "Are you serious? Do you have anything to say for yourself right now?" And he went, "No, could have cared less." You know, my husband had no remorse. No remorse, no self-hatred. He said that our marriage was over anyway. I didn't know our marriage was over. That requires a conversation. So I left there, and I didn't react at all. The drive home, I was silent. The kids were in the car, so I couldn't cry. And then I got home, and my friend helped me situate the kids, and then I absolutely lost it. I just couldn't believe this again. It was shock. There wasn't a sickness feeling this time. I was just angry.
I spent 15 years in the police, but I kind of left quickly because I got to a situation where some of my supervisors were aware that I was sleeping with a colleague. My behaviour did end my career. I told everybody I was leaving to start a business. Truth was that there was a chance that my deck of cards was going to fall over. It was going to all implode for me, so I ran away.
I've asked this question many times of married guys of why they do this, but he's usually quite sad at the fact that she watches telly and she doesn't listen to him anymore. She might ask about his day, but once he's switched from work onto anything else, she's not interested. He goes home to talk about his kids and the skirting boards and the gas bills and everything else that's going on in his life. He likes the thrill of going out and doing something different. He quite likes the fact that we've got 100% attention focused on each other. And he likes the fact that he's important.
Went on a number of personal development courses. We were asked to sit and think about, was there any elements of us that we didn't like or that we regretted about our past that we would change now?
He'd written underneath, in his characteristic handwriting, "been unfaithful." And it was like my world stood still. I just could not believe what I was reading. It was like my heart was leaping out of my chest. And I looked up at him and I said, "Who was she?"
There was no intention in me in that stage of telling her the full extent of my infidelities over the entire time of our marriage.
He said, "She was just a woman I met about 10 years ago. It was just sex. It was nothing more than that, just sex. I wanted to know everything. When it happened, if she was pretty, I wanted to know if she was slim. I wanted to know if she was clever. I wanted to know if she was everything that I didn't believe that I was." I can remember just sitting on the bed crying. I made the decision he'd got to leave. Just like, leave, get away from me. I can't deal with this.
I remember we'd just come back from a holiday in France, and even though we'd had a wonderful time, Anna, you could tell that something wasn't right. She said, Tom, I know. At which point I thought about sort of turning around and running away. I thought about being angry and trying to deny it, but instead I sat down next to her on the grass and I just said that I was sorry. I said it had been something that had gone on for a long time. I actually had an overwhelming desire to answer truthfully, but if I told her everything, it would be making it real, and I would have to live with that shame. And I didn't think I could live with that shame. That's the first time I've used the word shame, and that's probably the first time I felt shameful about what I'd done. She said to me she thought I was unwell and that actually I needed help, because to be doing what I was doing was insane.
The new man in my life, I was very happily married for 12 years. It was completely different to my previous relationship. It was calm, there was no drama, everything was straightforward. It was a perfectly ordinary evening, and I thought, oh, I know whose birthday it is today. And to this day, I don't know what possessed me. It was almost like a little devil whispering in my ear. And for some reason, I wrote a text to my ex, the person who has left me, and it said, "Happy birthday!" exclamation mark. And as soon as I pressed send, I regretted it instantly. I regretted it. I felt that, oh my goodness, what if my husband finds out? Just never do that again. And after a couple of minutes, there was the ping of a message. The pull was too strong. I just could not resist him. So I lied to my husband. I told him I was going abroad for a meeting, but actually I was going to meet my ex in secret. So I flew to Italy. He saw me and he ran towards me and he gave me the biggest hug, and we were both in floods of tears. He just said, "You are more beautiful than you ever were." And everything just unraveled from there on. How can I do that? Am I a monster? How could anybody do that to a perfect husband and basically a perfect family? And it did cause chaos. And we basically, in one night, me and my lover, we've obliterated 2 fully functioning families.
With the help of Anna, she found a psychotherapist for me, and I started having psychotherapy, which was really helpful and really beneficial to me. There are no excuses, there are never excuses, but there are reasons, I suppose. I think the trauma of my dad passing away when I was 13 was quite sudden. He passed away of a heart attack. It did shape my future. We didn't really discuss my father's death. We just found it easier not to discuss it. I became quite detached emotionally. I was this sort of quite angry person, that I had a lot of resentment towards the world, that actually, what's the point? We're all going to die at some point, so it doesn't really matter if I'm a bit reckless.
Pete contacted me, and for the first few times I ignored his phone call. But I think gradually I thought, well, it wouldn't hurt to just talk with him. I agreed to meet with him. I can remember actually we walked the streets at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and he showed me this list, and the list had 23 names on it. Dates, and there were descriptions of where they'd met, how many times they'd had sex, how long it had gone on for, if it was anything more than a one-night stand. And I realised from the dates, I looked at the dates and realised it spanned our entire marriage right from when I was pregnant with our daughter.
The document itself was just horrific when you look at it in its entirety. It was just a catalogue of lies and deceit.
It was just like my heart had been ripped open. My world had just imploded. He started to cry, and he sobbed and sobbed and sobbed.
It just got to the lowest point that I've ever felt in my life. It was like everything that I'd been holding together just fell apart in that one moment.
Anna had told some of my work colleagues that I'd been on these websites during work hours. I'd been exposed for who I was and what I was. There was no hiding place. People knew. They dismissed me for gross misconduct. And I think this, combined with Anna being so understanding and wanting to help and being so enlightened herself, and I think because I was in love with her, I did actually, for the first time in a long time, I did actually really want to change. But all of this very sadly led to Anna ending the relationship. And it was sort of utterly devastating. And out of all the consequences of even losing my job and being reported to my governing body, that was without doubt the most painful consequence.
As much as I missed him, and I missed him unbelievably so, the more difficult thing was having that future taken away from me. Was I naive? Potentially. Or was I a woman that was in love and didn't question things enough? Everyone's right to judge me. I feel like I went with my heart.
One day I will find the right man for me, somebody who won't cheat. I've seen why men cheat, and I would hope that I wouldn't be the reason for a man to cheat.
One of the things that most of us don't consider is that someone else is going to be the dad to your kids. I remember walking up to the pub last summer with my kids and her partner and thinking, okay, this is us as a family. This is the modern family.
In the 3 years that we've been separated, those kids and I have had some amazing memories. We've made some amazing memories. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't lonely every now and then, but for the most part, you know, things are good. And with every door, another one opens, you know, so.
My son didn't speak to me for the next 4 years at all. Love does have social consequences. The thing is, you don't realize what those consequences are when you are high on love, lust, adrenaline.
Nikki would have had every right to have just thrown me out and moved on to pastures new, but she decided to react differently.
I just had this moment of clarity. This was not about me and my failings. This was all about Pete and his pain. He needs help. Instead of being the wounded, hard done by wife, I could be the person who helped him. It was like all of a sudden I realised the true meaning of unconditional love in a marriage.